Waiter, another beer. An iced one. What's taking so long? It's coming right up. Why are there so many customers today? My head is spinning. Her colleague, seeing her struggle, told her to take a break. But she felt she still had some time before her next part-time job. She'd finished cleaning up before clocking out. She told her colleague to go home first. Although she also wished for a more leisurely life, she not only had to pay rent, but also pay off her loans. Working day and night these past few days, she felt like her head was about to explode. Her only joy now was the daily update of her favorite novel. She thought she'd rest after reading this chapter. Who knew that her nose would start bleeding and she would feel a wave of dizziness? Then she collapsed on the floor. The novel's title was I Stole My Sister's Man. Help the children. Help her. Sayalina. Did she fall asleep again without realizing it? She was going to be late for work, but the scene before her left her stunned. Where's this? Don't push yourself. Just lie down and rest. The man said to her, after their wedding night, she must be very tired. I'll have a maid come. Hans, wait, that man was clearly Killian, the protagonist of the trashy novel she was reading. Could it be that she had transmigrated? The novel she loved told a story like this. Sayalina's younger brother, Cyan, was the protagonist of the novel. He had always admired the renowned guardian of the Empire, Killian. When he saw Killian again at Sayalina's birthday banquet, he became entangled with Killian. The betrayal of her brother and husband caused Sayalina to be blinded by jealousy. As she prepared to poison her brother, she ended up being killed by her own husband. Why did I have to transmigrate into Sayalina of all people? Does this make any sense? The heroine was in shock. Killian glanced at her and asked if there was a problem. The heroine was startled and frantically shook her head, indicating that she was fine. Killian said, "Then I'll see you later." Sayalina, the heroine, felt very dejected. So this wasn't a dream. Can someone please tell her this is all a dream? To be killed by her own husband. That's truly the most shocking ending. She lifted her head and looked around. Since it has come to this, adapting and living here might not be so bad. Besides, Sayalina is not only the daughter of a Grand Duke with deep ties to the imperial family, but also the wife of the current head of a founding family of merchants. At least she wouldn't have to worry about starving. Although Sayalina died of jealousy, she wouldn't be jealous. She could even support them. She decided it was better not to try to change the ending, just wait quietly, and then get a proper divorce. After that, she would take the alimony, buy a mansion in a quiet place, and enjoy a life of freedom. That kind of life sounded pretty good. There was a knock at the door. The person identified herself as Lily, but the heroine had never heard that name. After she entered, she eagerly called out, "My lady." She asked how the Duke was that he gentle as his honey-colored eyes. You promised you would tell me everything. Why are you being like this now? She had promised this? Seeing her familiar attitude, she must be her personal maid. This is right when the original plot is about to begin. The event that brings those two together is Sayalina's birthday banquet in a few months. Her birthday is in early summer when the lilies bloom. But it's winter now. She couldn't keep asking Lily questions like this. She also knew very little about the ducal family. At this rate, her cover would be blown soon. But who here knows the most about high society news? The person who knows the most about high society news, the tailor, Madame Bologna, knows best. She cheerfully greeted the heroine. She had wanted to make a dress for her for a long time. She was honored to receive her invitation. However, this was all thanks to the generous payment from the Duke. Although she hadn't seen a trace of him since their wedding night, he was still a pretty good husband. A Grand Duke's daughter living in such a remote suburb must be finding it hard to adjust. The people here don't know what's in fashion. She also doesn't have any friends to ask about high society news. It's quite frustrating. The tailor looked at her with some hesitation. Speaking of that rumor, but she quickly stopped herself before the words came out. The heroine could only try to fish for information. It was the rumor about the Duke murdering his nephew. The previous head of the Sephard family and his wife had an excellent reputation in high society. For generations, the ducal family was responsible for hunting the magical beasts in the northern part of the empire, and they were also very attentive to the affairs of the capital. So when the news of the Duchess's pregnancy was announced, the nobles from all over were overjoyed. But one day, the tragic news of the previous head and his wife's simultaneous death suddenly spread. The head's younger brother took over. The people in the capital were very surprised by this, because everyone had heard that the previous Duchess had already given birth to a pair of twins. Under these circumstances, Duke Killian chose to shut the mansion's gates. Since there was already an heir, It was indeed strange for the Duke's younger brother to succeed. Therefore, there were rumors that he had murdered the previous head, his wife, and their children in order to ascend to the position of head of the family. The tailor thought the heroine knew about this. Meanwhile, the Duke already knew what was happening on the heroine's side. The butler was worried that the Duchess would hear the rumors and have unnecessary misunderstandings. Even if she hears it, it won't change anything. After all, we're already married. 5 years ago, at the Imperial Palace banquet, Silena took the initiative to talk to him, recognizing him as Killian. She had heard that the night sky over the northern snowfields had a brilliant cluster of stars and was very beautiful. He was clearly stunned when he heard this. You get to see a beautiful sight every day that we've never seen. I'm so envious. He was shocked. Dozens of soldiers die every day on the snowfields. And she said she wanted to go. She's crazy. But the heroine said she really wanted to see it. A grand ducal lady. So naive, she was almost foolish. That was his first impression of Silena. My daughter can't forget you. She's become lovesick. Even though they had only met that one time, Silena's father proposed their marriage. He would give him the mining rights to the magic crystal mine in the western part of the Grand Duchy as his daughter's dowry. His reputation in high society wasn't good. What was the reason for such a generous offer? Silena's father only hoped his daughter could be happy. I look forward to you making a wise decision. It would be better if she believed the rumors. That way, she would run back home. He planned to continue hiding the existence of the young master and young lady, unless the curse was miraculously broken. The butler thought to himself, leaving the two of them like this, he didn't know if it was for the better or worse. As he walked out, he ran into the Duchess. They exchanged a few polite words. The butler stammered, trying to say something. The heroine told him not to worry. She was very satisfied with her life now. Anyway, she planned to live quietly until Killian had his affair. Besides, life in the Grand Duke's residence was too stifling. Food, clothes, relationships, everything had to be managed. For a good life, she needed him to cooperate with her. That being said, the truth of the rumors, the Killian in the novel might actually do something like that. But to harm children would be too much. She couldn't just ask him directly. Be quiet. We absolutely cannot be discovered. A figure appeared outside her window. The heroine turned her head and saw it. After realizing the heroine saw it, it quickly flew away. The next day, the heroine told Lily what happened last night. Not only did she see a dragon, but she also made eye contact with it. Lily suspected she was confusing reality with a dream. The great god Kuim almost destroyed the ancient world. Besides, what kind of dragon would speak with a child's voice? If there really was such a cute dragon, I want to see it too. After tidying up, the heroine had a meal with the Duke. At the table, she kept thinking, could that have been a northern magical beast? The heroine made an excuse to leave, wanting to see for herself. She said the horses sent from the Grand Duke's estate had arrived, and she was going to see them. The Duke agreed. Before leaving, the heroine turned back and said to him, if we're going to eat together in the future, can we do it in the evening? I like to sleep in the morning. The Duke watched the heroine's departing figure, thinking she seemed like a different person. This lie was too easy to expose. But the way he stared at her during the meal really made her uncomfortable. What she saw through the window yesterday should be in this direction. She suddenly heard a voice drifting from a distance. It was the voice she heard on her first day here. She wanted to confirm it, moving further and further away from the mansion. There really is a dragon. It's not a hallucination. She chased after it, wanted to touch it, and fell straight to the ground. The butler ran over in a panic, saying the young lady was missing, and she wasn't at the stables because the horses hadn't been delivered yet. He received a message that due to the snow, the horses were stuck near Count Falaz's territory. A servant came over and said they found footprints on a small path next to the rose garden, but the heavy snow had covered the tracks. The Duke pressed Lily to recall if the young lady had been acting strangely today. Lily remembered one thing. The young lady said she saw a dragon that spoke with a child's voice yesterday. Now he needed to summon the Black Wolves immediately. Find Silena at once. The Black Wolves, the most elite unit of the Schwartz Knights. They were Gabriel, Jick, and Shaken. They had to find Silena now. The magical beasts that kidnapped Silena were his nephews, born in this very mansion. 7 years ago, if it was a boy, he would teach him swordsmanship. He was greatly looking forward to the birth of his nephew. If it was a girl, he would be her guard. If she looked like his brother and sister-in-law, she would surely grow up to be the most beautiful woman in the empire. He would watch over her well, but he needed to get married before that too. The butler suddenly ran over, telling the young master to hurry to the delivery room. The ducal mansion was filled with the foul stench of magical beasts. The captain told him not to go in, but his brother and sister-in-law were inside. A magical beast was born from his sister-in-law's womb, and her face was withered like an old woman's. His brother had also turned into that state. The butler held back the agitated him, shouting, "Quick, use the purification stone." He commanded the knights to hurry and search for news of Silena. His final instruction to Ripley was to find her at all costs. He didn't want to go through something like that a second time. The heroine woke up again to find herself in a house. It seemed she had been kidnapped. There were quiet voices at the door. The adults were discussing whether to send her back, but they also wanted to keep her here to play. But the heroine couldn't understand them, so she opened the door and said, "Wait a minute." It was two children. They looked to be only 7 years old. Seeing her approach, the two were terrified. The boy told the girl to hold her off quickly while he cast a time reversal spell. The boy said to hit her on the head with a wooden plank. The heroine said, "Wait a minute, can't we talk about this properly?" The boy told the heroine to close her eyes. She did as she was told. He said with regret, "I thought I had made a good friend." The girl was happy to hear that. She wanted to make friends. They introduced themselves to each other. The girl was named Eileen, and the boy was Yeelish. The heroine suggested they play hide and seek, and then she would find the way out and leave this place quickly. There were no signs of intrusion outside. She wasn't dead, just asleep. They used sleeping herbs. The magical beast still looked terrifying. They actually found such a hidden passage. It seems they often use it to get in and out. They've grown quite a bit in the last 7 years. He found the Duchess inside. She thought if she played with them for a while, they would tell her the way out. She didn't expect to run into him. But Ripley said there were no children in this annex. They had to leave this place quickly. Who knew that behind them was a magical beast? He stood in front of the heroine, who knew she would step forward and say they were just children, not to harm them. Ripley suspected he was hallucinating. A moment ago, it was clearly a magical beast, but he believed what he saw before him. He knelt and paid his respects, greeting the young master and young lady. The heroine didn't expect that these two children were Killian's nephew and niece. The two of them indeed were. They looked very much like their biological parents. The heroine took a closer look. The children did indeed look a lot like Killian, especially Yeelish. Even a slightly arrogant way he looked down on others was faintly similar. But Yeelish was much cuter than him. In the Duchess's eyes, they didn't look like magical beasts. She had truly created a miracle. The heroine was puzzled. She hadn't done anything that's not true. The moment you gently held the children, they suddenly changed from magical beasts to normal children. She was very surprised. After all, she had seen them as human from the beginning. Only the one she saw that night must have been Yeelish. But they had to go back quickly. It was too dark here. It would take some time. Eileen said she knew the way out. The two of them climbed out from below. The heroine was startled by the person in front of her. She had just fallen asleep from the sleeping herbs. She was actually the nanny who took care of the young master and young lady. There was no one else here besides the nanny. Ripley said this was for the children's sake. After all, in the eyes of others, they were just disgusting magical beasts. Once rumors of magical beast activity spread in the city, or even that the flesh and blood of the Sephra ducal family were born as magical beasts, the family would face a crisis of survival. This would be too cruel for the children. The heroine guessed it was a curse, but she had no way to deal with it. She could only wait and see. Now that she knew about this, she couldn't act as if nothing had happened, but she would come to see them again. Now she had to go back. Knowing the heroine had finally returned, Lily was scared to death. She had been missing for 3 days, and everyone was very anxious. And 3 days ago, His Grace the Duke had assembled a search party and headed to the snowfields. They had already sent a carrier pigeon to inform him of her return. His Grace would return once the message was delivered. He actually went to the snowfields for her. But the Killian in the original story didn't care about Silena at all. The headmaid felt this was only natural, because she was the noble mistress of the Sephra family. She hadn't gotten used to this identity yet. They should all know what happened in the annex yesterday. The heroine summoned these people to get information before Killian returned. The butler said that the members of the family's council of elders all knew. Currently, the members of the Council of Elders are Count Adler Sephrid, who lives in Aller Castle, and Count Hayes Sephrid, who lives in Caton Castle, and Marquis Raymond Sephrid, who lives in Agson Castle. The only one who knows the young master and young lady are alive is His Grace the Duke's uncle, Count Adler Sephrid. The nanny in the annex is a woman from the Gilet tribe, and this is common knowledge. Someone asked her, "Can you really save the souls of the young master and young lady?" The heroine turned to look at Ripley. Actually, she didn't know. Ripley, however, said excitedly that she could. After all, he had seen it with his own eyes. This was the guidance of fate. The heroine wanted them to see for themselves, but they didn't dare. After all, it was the Duke's order. This matter required the Duke's consent. The next day, the heroine felt that the people underground still cared more about the Duke, so she decided to go by herself. She also asked for some cookies, hoping the children would like them. It looked like a feast. The heroine had promised the children, so she intended to go. Ripley asked to go with her. When they were almost there, she told Ripley to rest under a tree. Waiting for her, the heroine entered. They were hiding in the bushes. The two of them were filthy, and the house they lived in was also very dilapidated. She didn't understand. Was this really the best option? The two children had never even eaten cookies before. This was their first time eating cookies. You could tell they really liked them. The heroine told them to eat as much as they wanted. She had brought a lot. But their nanny was currently praying. At a time like this, as the only nanny, she should be taking better care of the children. Eileen asked the heroine to keep it a secret that they had snuck out. Eilish said if she knew, she would cry all the time and be scared. The heroine said she would come again tomorrow. Ripley said he felt it was very strange. The young master's magical beast form was gradually becoming blurry, slowly revealing his handsome appearance. Lily was still very worried about her. Seeing the heroine with a basket, she thought the heroine was seeing someone behind the Duke's back, having an affair with the captain of the knights. She really dared to say anything. On the way back, she couldn't help but be curious and asked about the Gilet tribe. Whenever one speaks of the Gilet tribe, one must mention magical beasts. The Gilet tribe were priests who served the goddess Shafina for generations. Later, the temple of the goddess Shafina was destroyed and they all fled. This matter must be spoken of in a low voice, because a slight carelessness could lead to the hatred of the empire's citizens. This northern land was originally a fertile land governed by the goddess Shafina. But one day, the goddess, in a fit of anger, froze the entire land. She also created magical beasts and began to torment humans. People didn't know why the goddess was angry. They simply thought the goddess was fickle. Since it was such a deep resentment, someone must have offended the goddess and was being punished. Either they turned into magical beasts, the curse of the goddess Shafina. The heroine was very grateful to Lily for telling her so much. So the northern lands were originally very fertile. What on earth did this family do to make the goddess resent them so much? Suddenly, a voice echoed in her mind. It seems I didn't choose the wrong person after all. Her name was Shafina. She was the one who summoned the heroine here. She was also the one who passed on the power to break the ducal family's curse to her. She could finally speak with her now, Silena. Are you really the goddess Shafina? Shafina said, insolent. My name is not something a weak human can call directly. This left the heroine feeling a bit speechless. This was just a residual power now. She remembered that time. She did indeed hear a voice. The owner of this body, Silena, died of a heart attack before her first night with her husband. She was too nervous and drank too much wine, so she fainted and passed away. And her body in the real world was also already dead. It was she who took her soul before it dissipated and allowed her to be reborn as Silena. There was a reason why it was her. But now her power was weak, and it was difficult to maintain her form. She would first transfer the rest of her remaining power to her. If there was anything she wanted to know, she should ask the woman from the Gilet tribe. What a taste. And she wasn't ready yet. The mental preparation to break the curse. How could there be such an arbitrary god? Waking up the next day, she had to go see Loina. Anna didn't expect her to be up so early. The heroine was going to the annex later. She planned to bring some toys for them. Anna was also very curious about what the young master and young lady looked like. The heroine described their appearance to her. Eilish looked exactly like Killian. Eileen's hair was pink. Eileen looked a lot like her mother. She was a little teary-eyed. The former Duchess also had dimples when she smiled and was very beautiful. Killian was coming back soon. After getting his permission, they would go see the children together. The Gilet tribe, who lived their lives as priests, never interacted with others. They believed it would hinder them. Speaking of which, she had met Loina. She was brought by the former duke, and the master's last words were that before the curse was broken, she would be responsible for taking care of the children. At first, they were also suspicious of her, especially His Grace the Duke. He would visit the children several times a day just to confirm their safety. After all, those were His Grace's brother's incredibly real children. At this moment, footsteps were heard from outside. A knight ran over and said that His Grace the Duke had already reached the vicinity of the North City Gate. The mansion instantly became lively, busy with preparations for the Duke's return. Since coming to this house, this was the first time she felt a little guilty. After all, she used to do all this. The butler said to her, "It is said that Lord Brent just took a healer to the city gate. Killian was injured, but not seriously. He received a report that he was seriously injured, and she didn't need to help, just wait in her room." The butler told her to rest early. Below were busy servants. Because of her recklessness, Killian was injured, although it wasn't serious. But there was nothing to be done. It had already happened. She should just stay out of it. Suddenly, there was a loud noise from the side. It was the sound of a window shattering. It was Yeelish and Eileen. She quickly closed the door and told them to be quiet. It turned out they thought the heroine was taking too long to come, so they came to find her. The two of them had an argument about whether to come or not. The heroine was speechless, face-palming. She suddenly thought of a problem. How'd they get here? They actually said they flew over. Previously, Lord Brent said the children had the appearance of magical beasts. Then, in the eyes of others, the children must also look like magical beasts. In that case, they all sensed the aura of magical beasts. It was chaotic outside. Someone wanted to break in to check the situation. The Duke was on his way back. The healer had arrived. Shaken was injured. While they were searching the ruins of the Shafina temple, they encountered an accident. A stone pillar fell right on top of Shaken. He had no time to dodge. Fortunately, His Grace was not seriously injured. Sialina had really returned safely. Luckily, she didn't run into any magical beasts. It was so worrying. How on earth did she get into the underground passage? Did she know? Ripley hesitated a little, saying it was because the Duchess was curious. But the Duke could see he was lying. What was he hiding? Is it the magical beast? Memories flooded his mind. He said the dragon the Duchess saw was indeed the young master and young lady. The Duchess didn't know what magical beasts looked like before. The children left the annex and approached Sialina. He just wanted to hurry back now. Ripley, at his side, quickly told him what had happened recently. But the Duke didn't believe it at all. For the past several hundred years, successive heads of the family had failed to find a way to break the curse. A curse that even his brother couldn't break was broken by the Grand Ducal lady he had reluctantly married. How could that be possible? The curse could never be broken so easily. And on the heroine's side, she was trying hard not to let the people outside break in. They all sensed the aura of magical beasts. How could it be nothing? The heroine told Hans to calm down. The situation was urgent. The heroine had to use a table to block the door. Then she drew the curtains. Although she didn't know what Hans and Anna would do, if Killian found out, he would definitely not let them go. The people outside had already started trying to break in, but the heroine directly threatened them, saying she would have them thrown out of the ducal mansion. At this, the people outside didn't dare to move. Soon after, the Duke had returned. He saw them all outside the door. He was about to barge right in. Eileen heard Killian's voice, her eyes showing fear of him. She pushed the heroine away, trembling all over. Her golden pupils turned red. Once he and Ripley were outside the house, looking at a blue stone. That was a purification stone that could absorb the aura of magical beasts. A magical beast's aura was similar to a human's magical power. Magical beasts would reveal it when they used their abilities or went berserk. Placing these stones was to prevent them from going berserk. When they went berserk, they had a distinct feature. Their pupils turned red. Eileen couldn't be here now, but now she didn't know what to do. Killian was still outside the door, saying they were monsters. This immediately provoked Eileen. She began to sprout wings. The berserk Eileen also affected Yeelish. Eileen had completely transformed. She was muttering for him to run. The heroine stood there, stunned. She still didn't know what to do. But if this continued, the children would both become like this. The goddess Shafina appeared beside her, guiding her to hug the children. She possessed the goddess's divine power. There was no need to be afraid. The monster looked very scary. If she hesitated any longer, Killian might kill the children. The heroine bravely hugged them. Their scales began to gradually fade. By the time the Duke broke in, he saw the heroine holding 2 children. The heroine quickly explained that the children were not dangerous, as long as she held them. Killian just knelt down. His brother's instructions echoed in his mind. Although they had hurt him and his sister-in-law, they were still their children. He lowered his head and thanked the heroine, tears wetting his cheeks. The next day, the 2 children woke up. The heroine, at their bedside, asked if they had rested well. well. This was the heroine's room. They didn't have to worry about others breaking in. Eileen hesitated a little. They also felt guilty for the trouble they caused the heroine. She proposed that she would try to find a way for them to come see her. From now on, nothing that would scare them would ever happen again. They would go into a frenzy just hearing Killian's name, and she would not let the children go through that again. At this time, Anna was about to come over. She looked at the food before her. It seemed a little small for 3 people. Ripley walked over and greeted the heroine. He had come so early in the morning. It turned out he was here to deliver something to her. Inside were freshly mined, less than a week old, grade 1 magic crystals. The Duke asked about the heroine's reaction to receiving the magic crystals. She wasn't surprised, a little flustered, but she quickly calmed down. Perhaps it was because she could finally provide a decent meal for the young master and young lady. Hans came over and said the Duchess was ready to go to the annex. Ripley was to escort the Duchess. The butler felt like he was dreaming. He passed by the Duchess's room, and the sound of laughter was constant. If the curse could be lifted, the Duke wouldn't be in danger like the accident that happened to the previous Duke. Killian emphasized that he would not die. Actually, the previous Duke had emphasized the same thing. The butler didn't want to lose this head of the family as well. For now, he was safe. Outside the window was the sound of the heroine and the children's laughter. Actually, if nothing unexpected had happened, they should have ascended to the position of head of the family. With the appearance of the true heirs, the position of head of the family would once again become the focus of public opinion. The butler suggested assigning a knight as the Duchess's guard. Ripley couldn't watch over them all the time. It just so happened that he had already planned it, to assign a loyal knight to protect them. Eileen had been holding his hand the whole time and now wanted to let go. Ripley said it was okay. The knights wouldn't look this way. He told the heroine to wait here and not to leave first. The heroine made a pinky promise with him that they would be right back. Seeing them leave, the heroine planned to have a good talk. The nanny's children had been missing for so long, and she didn't even care that they were back. This was the first time the heroine had seen her face clearly. A person with silver white hair and pupils. Even after 7 years, there was no change. She came over, saying she had been waiting for the heroine and offered a very grand courtesy, saying the goddess was waiting for her. Please follow me. Although the knights were very worried, she didn't bring her here to harm her. This was her room. Behind this door was it. She had to go by herself. She thought the room where the goddess was worshipped would be very special. It was just an ordinary room. That's the statue of the goddess Shafina. Thinking about it, she was the only one with this eye color. Her eye color was the same as the goddess's. She didn't know if it was a coincidence. Suddenly, the statue spoke. She accidentally fell to the ground. Shafina said, "Damn it, don't treat me so roughly." She came over and hugged her directly, saying she had done very well. She was very happy, but the heroine said she was just doing as she was told. She couldn't go there herself. The Kirov ducal family she saw was a special family whose bodies could not use magic. Therefore, the ducal family had long ago excavated the magic crystal mine, accumulating wealth and power to reach their current position. Someone who loves the Sephrid ducal family and will not leave. This was the last condition. The heroine was very grateful that she had told her such an important thing. Maybe she was overthinking it. Actually, the heroine was a little afraid of Shafina. She told her not to be afraid. As long as she fully accepted, she could use her power to stop the twins from losing control. The heroine slapped her hand away. But the reason the twins were like this was because of her curse. And now she comes to clean up the mess. How shameless. She even wanted to borrow her body. The goddess knew she had done wrong. She had used up most of her divine power to come out and try to salvage what she had done. The curse could not be lifted. The monsters would exist in this world forever. The monster aura in the Sephrid family's blood could also not be purified. She had been irresponsible before, and now she wanted to use her body to save the situation. The heroine didn't want to do it. No matter how much the goddess pleaded behind her, she would regret it before she cast the curse. She should solve her own problems herself. Shafina had no way what was wrong, and her body began to turn transparent. The heroine opened the door, saying she would never agree to the shameless goddess's request. But if the heroine kept refusing her, she, who relied on her power to live, would die. the heroine fell directly to the ground. She felt a bright light slowly enter her body. When she opened her eyes again, she was already lying in bed. She still didn't understand what had happened. Lily forcefully pushed her back onto the bed, telling her to rest well and not think about anything else. She would stay by her bedside until she got better. Then they went out, leaving the heroine to rest. Lying in bed, the heroine thought about everything that had happened today. Her dream life was shattered. That damn goddess. A few days later, the heroine was much better and planned to go see the children, bringing some snacks. As she was arranging for the maids, she saw the Duke downstairs with the butler greeting him. Seeing that she was fine, he must have found the Hallyskin quilt particularly warm. A Hallyskin quilt. Previously, Lily had brought that quilt to her, saying it was made from 20 little Hallies. The heroine didn't want it. The heroine gave it directly to Lily. It was a gift from Killian. In that case, the heroine could only lie. Now the Duke wanted to introduce someone to her and needed a little of her time. The heroine needed to come to the office. When she opened the door, a person had been waiting for a long time. It was Gabriel. From now on, this night would be the heroine's guard. After all, she would be going to the annex often. The heroine realized he wanted to monitor her. She wanted to refuse. After all, only when she was there would the children not go berserk. He knew the heroine had a mysterious power, but for now, he couldn't confirm what it was, only guess. It was best to listen to him for now. Gabriel was an elite among the knights. His skills were very strong. He was less talkative than Ripley and also very perceptive. After thinking for a moment, she accepted that I'll be in your care from now on. On the way, Gabriel offered to carry the basket for her. The basket wasn't heavy, so the heroine didn't let him carry it. The two of them didn't talk much, and the scene became awkward. He really was a man of few words. From now on, the heroine would have to see him every day. She thought about building a good relationship. Coincidentally, he also asked how she lifted the children's curse. Hearing this, the heroine felt a little ashamed. She didn't have such a powerful ability yet. Gabriel's expression changed when he heard this. He said, "That's good." The heroine felt his attitude was very rude. Since things had come to this, she decided to be direct. It seemed he didn't want the children's curse to be lifted, and he didn't treat the heroine as, of course. When the time came, she would tell the Duke all about this. Hearing this, he became a little nervous and explained his thoughts. Actually, he didn't want the master's position to become precarious again. Although Killian was the current head of the family, the existence of the children meant that, according to tradition, the children should inherit the dukedom. That's why he thought that if she lifted the curse, Killian would be threatened. As expected of a loyal person trusted by Killian, she understood his meaning and let him guard outside the door. Even if she accepted the goddess's proposal and lifted the curse, she had to let the children live on as the young master and young lady of the Sephard ducal family. Yealish told the heroine to watch him. He could fly down directly from a high place. The heroine clapped for him in cooperation. Ever since she hugged Eileen, she could see their wings. She didn't know if this was a good thing or a bad thing. Eileen told her she could also make the heroine fly, but this had to be a secret. The heroine thought she was really cute. Actually, if you look closely, this house has everything it should. There are many dolls here. The heroine likes rabbits. Yealish likes wolves. Since the previous Duke had made preparations in advance, personally found Loina, and brought her to the ducal mansion, he must have known all along. But even so, he didn't give up hope. Yealish brought over a book and asked her to read it, but she suddenly realized she didn't recognize a single word. After transmigrating, during the period when she decided to get a divorce and live a comfortable life, the imperial language gave her a huge headache. Although she always covered it up by saying she suddenly forgot, this was not a long-term solution. Even if she wanted to ask for help, the fact that a Grand Ducal lady was illiterate would seem very strange. Self-study was also difficult. From the pictures in the book, it seemed to be a book about swordsmanship. How was she supposed to read it to them? The children could only imagine the story through the pictures. For the heroine, this was a good opportunity. While teaching them to read, she could also learn some herself. Putting the book down, they continued to play games. Now that the literacy problem was solved, there was still a lot for the children to learn. The thought that if she could freely use the goddess's omnipotence. Thinking of this, she quickly shook her head. She couldn't just rely on the goddess. Even without the goddess's omnipotence, she would do her best to help the children become independent. The children were asleep now. She gently closed the door. Loina appeared behind her, startling the heroine. She stammered as if she had something to say. Then she threw herself on the ground, begging for the heroine's help. Ever since she left that day, the goddess had fallen into a deep sleep. This had happened before, but this time the sleep was exceptionally long. Something bad must have happened to the goddess. She had said before that she didn't have much time left. Could it be because she transferred her divine power to her, so her lifespan was shortened? Or was it because she refused to accept her proposal? The heroine suggested that she take the goddess statue with her. Loina agreed. After all, she was the one chosen by the goddess. That I'll leave the goddess in your care. In the evening, when the heroine was returning, she noticed many carrier pigeons in the sky. So many carrier pigeons were dispatched. It seemed the elders of the Sephard family were starting to make their move. Once the news of the young master and young lady spread, this was bound to happen. They should hurry back. The Duke received a letter from a carrier pigeon. The heroine was outside, intending to speak with him. She didn't speak ill of Gabriel, but instead praised him as an excellent knight. The main reason the heroine came to find him was that she wanted to try teaching the children to read. There were many books in the annex. If they could read and write, they could accumulate basic knowledge through books. Seeing the Duke hesitate, the heroine's heart was also very uneasy. Could it be that he also didn't want the children's curse to be lifted? If that were the case, he wouldn't have shown that expression when he saw the children's true forms. But just in case, the heroine asked, could it be that you also don't want the children's curse to be lifted? The Duke's face immediately turned ugly when he heard this. Did someone say something like that? The heroine quickly explained that she was just guessing. Finally, the heroine was very happy to hear him agree. The Duke felt as if she knew the curse would definitely be lifted. Actually, for the heroine, she didn't know if it would be lifted. The heroine said she didn't know. The Duke just thought she was playing dumb. After all, she possessed that kind of power. The heroine felt very angry. To know all this, she had only just found out. Weren't they the ones who hoped she knew nothing before? The Duke's expression changed. It is said that the Gilet tribe kissing someone's instep has two meanings. One is to hope for a blessing from the high priestess who has received the goddess's divine domain. The other is to express condolences for the living sacrifice offered to the goddess. Hearing this, the heroine stormed out of the door. The butler and the knight outside were stunned. The butler pushed the door open and entered, not understanding why the Duke was arguing with the Duchess. The Gilet tribe using humans as sacrifices is slander from others. The Duchess genuinely wants to help him, and when he agreed to this marriage, he said he would not let the Duchess regret marrying him. Since the Duchess came here, her life has been much simpler than when she was a Grand Ducal lady. This is already something he can hardly make up for. You should just admit it. He just doesn't know how to treat the Duchess. Actually, from the beginning, this marriage was not his will. He suspected that woman had someone pulling the strings behind her and even had it investigated. Now, the most important thing for him is to completely lift the children's curse. The butler suggested to him, in that case, try to get closer to the Duchess from now on. If you want to realize your wish, you will need the Duchess's help. Although the marriage was not voluntary, you have a common wish. The Duke sighed and asked the butler to inquire about a tutor who could teach Yealish and Eileen to read. He had a candidate in mind, someone who wouldn't mind the children's monstrous appearance and met the conditions. The heroine was crying under the covers. The goddess wanted to use her body to atone for her mistakes. Everyone in the ducal mansion firmly believed she could break the curse. Not only that, but her husband also doubted her ability and said such things. Gabriel came over with something for the heroine and found her sulking under the covers. He began to speak up for the Duke. He also knew about the meaning of the Gilet tribe kissing the instep. It is said that the Gilet tribe would not even casually pick a withered leaf, because they believe that all those are lives nurtured by the goddess Shafina. The heroine was concerned. Would a person who gives meaning to everything kiss her instep for no reason? Gabriel assured the heroine that they definitely did not see her as a sacrifice. He guaranteed this was not to defend his master. He didn't know the full content of the heroine's conversation with his grace, but this time it should be his grace who was wrong. A knight would never lie. The heroine was very grateful for his comfort. After all, without his guidance, she would still be in distress. Gabriel was also very happy that the heroine said so. The next day, the heroine's eyes were very swollen. Anyway, she probably wouldn't have to see the Duke during this time. Lily thought that lovers' quarrels at the head of the bed are made up at the foot. She would surely calm down soon. As soon as Lily opened the door, she found the butler outside. The heroine let him in. Although her eyes were very swollen, it was nothing. It turned out that the tutor he had been instructed to find now had a suitable candidate. It was the so-called young sage, Pabe Leutrica. He was a legendary genius scholar. At the age of only 9, he became the chief researcher of the Royal Magic Tower. He was about the same age as Eileen and Yealish. By order of His Majesty the Emperor, he began to teach the adult crown prince. This matter was very famous back then. He also received the most fertile territory of Kessin City and the title of Count for this. What was just mentioned was only his past glory. Nowadays, no one calls him the Great Sage anymore. 10 years ago, he was dismissed from his post on charges of embezzling funds from the Magic Tower. Hearing that he was a criminal, the heroine was somewhat shocked. How could they let such a person teach the children? Basic subjects are not a problem. The reason he was recommended was that he was exiled to a monastery very close to here, and his exile period was almost over. Most importantly, his eyes couldn't see. If his eyes can't see, he won't know what the children look like. His Grace said that matters concerning the young master and young lady's education were all her responsibility. No need to ask the Duke. The heroine was going to talk to Pable in person and ask him to be the children's teacher. A few days later, the heroine was going out to invite the teacher. She told them to be good and stay at home. She would come back to find them later. She would teach them to read so they could read more books. She would also tell them stories about the stars and the sky. She would be back in 10 days. After coming out, the heroine found many people gathered there. The atmosphere was a bit off. His Grace had been out waiting for her for a while. The heroine went forward to apologize for her lateness. Seeing the tense atmosphere, it turned out that the leisurely old folks were preparing to come here to admire the snow. The elders of the Sefford family said they would be visiting the ducal mansion in the near future, so they were discussing countermeasures. Although they had already replied and refused, Countess Poitiers was very determined, so they were a little worried. Countess Poitiers is the wife of Uncle Adler. He is the only one who knows the children's true appearance. No wonder he is so determined. Although it's unknown whether they are coming to confirm the children's condition or to see her, it's probably both. After all, as the mistress of the house, it's normal to know these things. But the Duke always says such unpleasant things. He also told the heroine to take her time coming back. The heroine was about to set off. Who knew that Killian would suddenly approach? He told the heroine to hold out her hand. A man of the Sefford family kissing his wife's hand is a sign of respect. This was an apology. This should just be a formal apology. The current situation is indeed different from the novel. In that case, would Killian's heart also change? No longer favoring the younger brother, but turning towards Sialina. Better not to think about it. For now, she must focus on the matter at hand. It took 3 days. This doesn't seem to be a monastery, but a cemetery. A traitor to the Golden Deer Emperor could not possibly be exiled to a luxurious monastery. Lily was very scared. Let's quickly find that young sage and then leave this place. But the heroine didn't know what he looked like, only that he was blind. Lily thought it was that person. He was holding a cane and had a guide dog. The heroine tried calling his name. Unexpectedly, he really turned around and answered. He was Pable. He looked very young, and he possessed an unforgettable beauty. Lily couldn't help but say when she saw him, "I've never seen such a beautiful man." The heroine pinched her to shut her up, then stated her purpose. Then he glanced at the passers-by and said to her, "Let's talk right away." She sincerely offered him the position of tutor in the ducal family. She would provide food, lodging, and all conveniences. He was silent for a moment, then said he was willing. But he had one request, a pass for the north gate of the ducal territory, and to be provided with horses and knights when traveling. The heroine was a little puzzled. The north gate only led to snowfields. Why would he want to go there? He said there was a key he was looking for there. On the other side, Eileen and Yealish missed the heroine very much. Yealish suggested flying over to find the heroine. Eileen rejected the idea. She told him to stay put. Knowing Eileen wasn't willing to go, he went out for a walk alone. As he walked, he felt a sharp pain in his wings. The heroine said it might be because he was growing. Maybe he could fly higher. He said he also wanted wings to fly. He wanted to fly high to make the heroine happy to see him. He couldn't wait to see her. That was the emblem on the heroine's previous carriage. He wanted to see if she was there, but he didn't see the person he wanted to see. As he was about to fly away, he heard a discussion inside. They mentioned his name. They were actually discussing getting rid of him and Eileen. So he rushed out to scare them. Seeing his appearance, those people had actually prepared bows and arrows. Now Yealish was filled with panic. He wanted to fly back to the mansion, but his wing was shot. Before landing, he was still thinking Eileen would be worried about him at the mansion. He felt like he was in his office. He looked up and saw something outside the window. It was an injured dragon flying unsteadily in the sky. He stood up in shock and rushed out the door. He ran to the landing spot and saw the injured dragon. Seeing him fall, he still couldn't help but draw his sword. But he still caught him. Although he was struggling, he wouldn't bite. Yeelish had fallen. It seemed his magic was depleted. His body had also shrunk, although he had also consumed a lot of magic. And there was a clear emblem on the sword. A knight rushed over and asked if he was all right. He told his subordinate to send a message for the heroine to return quickly, but it seemed they had already arrived. Countess Poitiers-Seffred gave a polite greeting. Adler and Raymond had both arrived. Raymond said he encountered a magical beast on the road. He felt like he still had Yeelish blood on his face. He knew that Arrow was his. Countess Seffred reminded them, "Why don't we go inside and talk?" The butler whispered to the Duke. The young master woke up and started struggling. The black wolves tried to bury her. He had been in his magical beast form the whole time. The wound had not been treated. They had to wait for the Duchess to return and purify the demonic energy before the healer could treat him. Now, they could only wait for the message to tell her to return quickly. The heroine sighed, heard the news of a magical beast appearing, and a knight had shot and injured the magical beast with a bow and arrow. Gabriel heard this and said that the ducal territory generally doesn't use bows and arrows. Only Marquis Raymond would use them. They arrived so quickly. The heroine was very worried about the children. At this moment, she received a letter. It said that Yeelish was injured. After returning, the first thing the heroine did was to go see the children. Fortunately, she met Hacken on the way back, so they could return faster. There was poison in the air, but she had the goddess's divine power, so she didn't need to be afraid. The two in front were full of admiration for her. Soon, she arrived at the place. Eileen was also affected and had transformed. Because of the injury, Yeelish looked to be in great pain. Seeing the heroine arrive, they were all relieved and entrusted everything to her. She, carrying everyone's expectations, told them to stay away. She was about to begin. After seeing them all move away, the goddess appeared. The heroine said she wanted to negotiate with her. She was willing to form a pact with her. A pact between a god and a human is a contract that can never be broken because it is made at the cost of one's life. She could lend her body to her, but only until a more suitable person appeared, someone without magic who loved the Seffred family more than her. Then she would hand over the role to them, and her divine power and freedom would be returned to her. If no one appeared, she would be responsible for this role. First, let's open the barrier. As the barrier slowly disappeared, the heroine reached out her hands to them. "I'm here to ease your pain." On the other side, the Duke had told them everything. They were somewhat surprised. The magical beast children they thought had died 7 years ago were actually still alive. Countess Seffred wanted to confirm one thing. Did the Duchess know about this? After all, this was a cruel thing for a woman. After all, the child she gave birth to might die at the hands of the father. The Duke said he would not let this happen. Suddenly, he sighed. Did he think that as long as there were no children, the matter would be resolved? She already knew about the curse. He thought there was no need for the heroine to know about this. Countess Seffred was very angry when she heard this. No matter what, she was still the mistress of the ducal family. What if she vented her anger on the ducal family? Raymond said nonchalantly, "Why not just get rid of the monster brats? Then we won't have to worry about so many things later." He still wanted to use his bow and arrow. The butler opened the door and came in, worriedly saying the Duchess had returned. The heroine walked up to him and said, "Long time no see. The children are also well. They're already asleep." She would let the children sleep in her room, go call a doctor. The Duke grabbed her hand and said, "What's going on?" She said she would tell him the details later. This was the first time the two of them had seen the children and the heroine. It seems the title of the most beautiful woman in the Empire was not an exaggeration. He stepped forward to greet the heroine. She recognized him as the one who shot the child and didn't give him a pleasant look. He took the initiative to speak to the Duchess, saying the children were very attached to her. He hadn't had a chance to greet her. Hearing this, the Duchess's eyes widened in surprise. That's wonderful. The children must be very cute. After greeting them, She hurried back to check on the children's condition. His wound had already healed. The Duke explained to the heroine at his side. He must have been born with human magic. The maid left. The Duke said that people with magic can naturally sense each other's magic, and he didn't understand. Perhaps her ability was rather special. He said he didn't care whether he had magic or not. His sister-in-law had very strong magic, although they were born with magic, so he believed the children could control themselves. The heroine comforted him, saying Yeelish could heal himself. The situation was slowly getting better. The Duke gave a cold smile, saying their family's curse was cast by a god. It was something that could not be lifted, but the goddess had already been preparing for them for hundreds of years. So now he could rest a little easier. The heroine said the children would be fine. The heroine said that even if she wasn't there, they would be fine. Now that she was here, in the future, her younger brother would come to his side. Although thinking about it made her feel uncomfortable, she planned to give the children a room here. After all, the environment in the annex was not good. The Duke agreed. Seeing him leave, the heroine was puzzled. Didn't he want to see the children again when they woke up? He said there was no need. After all, he had almost killed them with his own hands once. At that time, he thought that as long as he eliminated all the monsters, he could get rid of all the poison. He was so stupid back then. He thought the children were too young to know at the time, but from their terrified reactions, he knew that wasn't the case. They probably remembered the magic that had once threatened them. He would arrange for the children to be near him, and if needed, he would move over as well. But he was trying to save the children before. The children were sleeping soundly, with no intention of waking up. The Duke had told her not to worry. She didn't know when the elders would leave. Anna said she didn't know, but they wanted to hold a welcome party. The heroine just found it too ridiculous when she heard it. Although she wanted to talk more with the Duchess, she didn't want to deal with her husband and Raymond at all. If it were the usual Duke, he would have definitely kicked them out. But why was he keeping them now? She mentioned that before the curse, the snowfields were also part of the ducal territory. The land was very fertile. But ever since the fields turned into snowfields, food and resources became scarce. And with monster attacks, the army and magic crystals were insufficient. This led to the Duke having to raise resources from the southern elders. She muttered under her breath, "What kind of deep-seated hatred is this to torture people like this?" And although she was from the Kirov ducal family, she couldn't punch that marquis. But now, the children's future was the most important thing. She rushed over in a hurry. The children had woken up and didn't even tell her. Without magic crystals, she was very worried about them. She didn't know if they could eat other things. Seeing the red liquid on their faces, she thought it was blood. Her face instantly turned pale. Anna reminded the heroine that they were eating strawberries. The two of them came over to the heroine and said this was delicious, and gave her one too. She breathed a sigh of relief. Thank goodness they didn't have to eat magic crystals anymore. And the divine power in her body told her that they were fine now. She now had to apologize to Shafina, and the children were going to sleep now. Yeelish asked, "So other people aren't afraid of us anymore?" The heroine forgot to explain to them. She said that everyone was no longer afraid of them. They didn't have to hide anymore, and Anna wasn't afraid of them either. They still wanted to play with her. The heroine said that from now on, they would live together. They wouldn't have to look for her anymore. They were very happy and hugged the heroine tightly. From now on, they could always see each other. They didn't have a nanny yet, so the heroine arranged for Anna to take care of the children for now. Lying by the bed, Eileen asked worriedly, "Is it really okay for us to live here?" After all, Killian had hurt him. Yeelish was about to say no, but his mouth was covered. The heroine came over and told them she had something to do and had to leave for a bit. She would be back soon. Seeing the heroine leave, they breathed a sigh of relief. Yeelish then said that he had hit Killian super hard. He had even called out his name at the time. The person who hurt him was the one who came by carriage, who shot an arrow at him. And the person who ordered the shot said Sialina was stupid. Eileen pointed at that person and said she wanted to teach him a lesson. The adults were having a heated discussion with the butler. Raymond wanted to get close to the annex, but was blocked by the butler. Adler persuaded him that there was no need to go to the annex. Raymond felt that the children who appeared might not be real, and the children might be in the annex. He suspected the Duke was training them as a secret weapon. He told Adler to think about it. For hundreds of years, there was no way to lift the curse. But suddenly, the cursed children appeared in human form. It was very strange. If that foolish Grand Ducal daughter didn't do something, He said he got this from a reliable source. Adler felt that the two children looked too much like the former Duke, and he felt that what the Duke was asking for now had a reason. Raymond mocked him for being so tamed by the Duchess. He said, "What's there to be afraid of? My knights will protect me." The butler reminded him that fully armed knights entering the ducal mansion would be considered treason. Even so, he had to go in by himself. The butler went to a hidden place to send a message to the Duke. What he didn't know was that the children had secretly come over. The Duke received the message. The Marquis was on his way here. For his own wealth and fame, he was so bold. But he hadn't thought of rebellion, probably because he didn't have the guts. And being there alone, he would probably scream in fear. Suddenly, the Duke noticed the children. He told the knight captain to go first. He would catch up later. The children were wondering why the Duke was standing there. The Duke appeared directly in front of them, feeling a little nervous, worried that the children would be scared. After seeing him, Yilish directly said that the fat man had cursed at Sialina. He stammered and trembled, saying he had also said things about him, which was why he had approached him. The thought of him made the Duke angry, and the two children were already terrified. He held out his hand and asked them, "Do you want to go teach him a lesson with me?" In the distance, Raymond was looking left and right. The two of them were speechless. He was already very close to the trap. There was no need to specifically pull the rope to trip him, but just in case, he still planned to pull the rope. But then he saw the Duke coming directly over. The children all showed their wings. The two of them didn't understand. Had the plan changed? Seeing Yilish fly, he thought he had recovered quite well. Raymond was scared stiff when he saw this. After coming to his senses, he began to hastily express his loyalty. Eileen gave him a wicked smile, asking for the Duke's opinion on teaching him a lesson. Raymond quickly begged the Duke for help, but the Duke paid him no mind. Eileen came over and gave him a push. He fell directly into the mud pit, and it gave off a foul stench. The children were having a great time. The heroine, seeing the children were missing, was restless. The butler told her not to worry. They had just gone out to play. Anna ran over and said they were back. The door opened, and the Duke and the children returned together. Looking at the mud on their faces, she asked what on earth had happened. The Duke smiled and said he'd just run into them on his way back. The heroine felt they were hiding something. But never mind. It was better to let them go take a bath first. Before leaving, Eileen even said goodbye to the Duke. Although the heroine felt a little puzzled, they had become closer. This was a good thing. What? Raymond left last night. The Duke said this was all thanks to her. Because he married her and got the mine, he no longer had to rely on Raymond's wealth as before. The heroine asked about the reason for his late-night departure. The Duke began to change the subject, asking how her afternoon tea with the Countess was. A day ago, the heroine thought the former Duke and former Duchess got together because the Countess introduced them. She said that since her argument with the former Duchess, this was her first time coming to the ducal mansion. They should know about the curse. She probably came to persuade the former Duchess not to have the child. It was only natural that she loved Claudia more than the child, but it would be good if she could also love the children. It's good for more people to care about them. And besides, she wouldn't be there then. She had to get everything in order before leaving. The atmosphere of the afternoon tea was better than she had imagined. She seemed to really like Perotia. The Countess said that Claudia had recommended it to her, so she liked it very much. The Countess said that she was initially against their marriage, but later changed her mind when she saw her. The heroine's face fell when she heard this. Was this also the power of the contract? She said that not long ago, she had heard about the curse. The children were born with demonic energy. The people in the family wanted them to die. She planned to hide the matter of purifying the aura. She said the Duke had no choice but to take the children to the annex. The Countess heard this and thought she had misunderstood the Duke, planning to apologize to him later. Although he did do that before she found out, she was now also a member of the family. She said she didn't have the former Duchess's courage and couldn't bear Killian's child. So she planned to raise Eileen and Yilish as her own children. The Countess was very sad. If she had known about the curse earlier, she would never have let Claudia marry into the family. The elders thought they could solve the problem, but in the end, she was the one who got hurt. The Countess had always felt guilty that she was the one who caused Claudia's death. And when she needed help the most, she had blamed her. She wanted to have the child, and even said the goddess had found her, saying that if she gave her body, she could save the child. But Claudia herself had magic, so the goddess couldn't possess her. She was lying. The heroine was full of questions. It seemed she had to investigate properly how Claudia died. They were leaving. The heroine planned to see them off one last time. They also left in a hurry. The Countess told her that Raymond had fallen ill because of a fertilizer incident. She heard he fell in while taking a walk, and the place where he fell was the Western Forest, a restricted area of the Annex. The Countess said that he was truly lucky to have married the Duchess. She hoped to receive an invitation again next time, and to remember their promise. Her promise with the Countess was that no matter what happened while she was away, she had to take good care of the children. The Count asked what promise. The heroine said she and the children had secrets, and women also had secrets. The doctor was coming later to check on the children. Although the divine power had purified the demonic energy, she didn't know if it would affect their bodies. The Duke's family's former physician wouldn't reveal the curse. The former physician, Yema Arno, had already arrived. The heroine had long heard that he had served the family for a long time. The heroine was a little nervous. He had retired after the Duchess's death. The heroine suspected he knew something. The heroine asked him to come and see the children. His expression became a little ugly. He said okay through his teeth. After examining them, it was different from what he had worried about. They had no problems. The heroine also breathed a sigh of relief. Opening the door, the Duke said with a tremor, "The children's growth rate is not like that of 7-year-olds. Actually, he had been hiding a secret all along. At that time, he wanted to know the cause of the former Duchess's death, because as the attending physician, he had not even seen the former Duchess's body. Then he opened the coffin alone to check, and then he discovered that there were no signs of injury on the former Duchess's body, but her body was covered in age spots. Claudia, turning into an old woman, Yelish's accelerated growth. The heroine suspected it was the goddess's doing. If the divine power being helpful to her was just an illusion, then all of this would be a conspiracy. As she was lost in thought, Lily suddenly shouted in her ear. It was her and the Duke's scheduled dinner, and now her head was a mess. She was afraid she would give herself away if she saw the Duke. When Sion comes, he will have to leave. Knowing too many family secrets will affect the ducal family. The heroine said that she couldn't have dinner with the Duke now and wanted to make another appointment with him. The Duke's side knew the heroine wasn't coming. He had already prepared everything. He dismissed the butler, thinking to himself, since when had he started worrying so much about her? What he needed to think about was what she was worrying about. He realized he didn't know her at all. If he said he wanted to know what the real Silena was like, what would her expression be? He walked to the heroine's door and found it open. The heroine was saying to Lily, "I must see Pabel tomorrow night." Lily thought he must be doing well, because he was avoiding people. Even if she wanted to find him, he wouldn't open the door, just saying he was fine. She heard that he would go for a walk with Anastasia at dawn. If only he could become the children's teacher. She was originally worried that she wouldn't be able to find him in the garden. But this lively dog was hard not to notice. The heroine walked up. They hadn't seen each other in a long time. Seeing him bow to her, the heroine told him not to be so formal. He said that although he couldn't see, he still had the proper etiquette. He was a little embarrassed after saying this. Actually, he rarely interacted with people. Actually, she really didn't mind these things. So, she told him he could be more casual. And he was the children's teacher. She also wanted to get closer to him. He approached and asked the heroine if the Duke had given the pass. Not noticing a branch, the heroine saw it and stopped him, and his cane fell to the ground. Because of the heroine's proximity, he was very embarrassed and wanted to pick it up himself. Seeing his difficulty, the heroine helped him pick it up and told him not to rush. As she was about to give it to him, she realized they were a little too close. At this moment, the Duke called her name. The heroine stood up and asked him what he was doing here. The Duke's face was grim, and he didn't answer, and the heroine wanted to continue helping him up. The Duke directly took the cane and handed it to him. Although he was a little puzzled, he still introduced him to Pabel. The Duke asked him about his title. Yes, "Oh, it was you who requested my wife to go to the snowfields." The heroine was shocked when she heard this. He was the children's teacher. Why was the Duke's attitude so unfriendly? Pabel knelt down directly, begging the Duke to let him go to the snowfields. The snowfields of Udi were affected by the collapsed temple, so there were vicious monsters there. Opening the northern city gate would risk the lives of knights and residents. The Duke's face was filled with gloom. Why did he have to make him take such a risk? He said, trembling, because someone I know was turned into a monster. I have to bring that person back now. I have endured humiliation for 10 years, and this is the only thing that has kept me alive. Whether you believe it or not, I was framed. He looked at the heroine and said, "You must believe me." The Duke stood in front of the girl, asking why he hadn't stated the reason he had to go to the snowfields. He said there might be clues there. The Duke laughed mockingly. Might find clues. It was as if he was hoping there would be clues there. The Duke told him to get up, but he refused, saying he was willing to dedicate the rest of his life to the ducal family. He would do any request. The Duke said it wasn't necessary. He wouldn't risk the lives of his knights for him. The heroine apologized to him. Actually, she didn't expect things to turn out this way. He talked about how before he was framed, an anonymous sponsor had provided him with many materials. From then on, he became obsessed with it. He had thought the world was too naive. That person just wanted to use him to test methods of turning people into monsters. He told the heroine not to feel sorry. Ignorance is also a mistake. The Duchess should go back. She had always believed that with the goddess's power, the children would be fine. But in a situation where she couldn't believe, she wanted to grasp every possibility. She didn't understand what he was doing. As soon as she opened the door, she found the Duke there. He said he had something to say to her. The heroine directly said, then agreed to Pable's request. His research can help the children. But the Duke closed his eyes and said, am I supposed to listen to my wife defend a favored subject? After he refused him, he had overheard the heroine's conversation with her maid. He was just a little jealous. Although he handled official business well, he didn't know how to be good to her. He hoped the heroine could understand him. He smiled and said, good night, leaving the heroine alone in her thoughts. The Duke was jealous? It must be her imagination. After all, he had his official pairing. Eileen drew a picture. It was Anna, and it looked just like her. Yilish was becoming more and more mature, reading a book there, and his wings were also bigger than Eileen's. The heroine told them to come over. A teacher was coming to teach them today. The children really wanted the heroine to teach them, but she was powerless to help. Anna said that Mrs. Maria had arrived. She was the head of an academy and should be very experienced in this area. She was even stricter than the heroine had imagined, and her younger brother was also her student. The heroine explained the situation to her. The children had no foundation yet, and their education was just beginning. Maria said they were already starting late and couldn't take things lightly. She was a little embarrassed. She wanted to introduce the children to her first. Maria said that she believed the first lesson in life was very important. She hoped the heroine would not interfere and just leave it to her. Maria was a very enthusiastic person. She hoped the children would behave well. Lily said the heroine had changed a lot. When the young master first went to the academy, she wasn't very worried. At that time, the nanny who bathed the young master cried so loudly because the young master's body was covered in bruises. The heroine was shocked to hear this. Could Maria hit people? Feeling something was wrong, she hurried to check. As soon as she entered the door, Maria said with an ugly expression that she wouldn't teach anymore. And in her hand, she held a wooden stick broken in half. The heroine was very angry. Did you hit the children? Maria heard this and looked as if it was a matter of course, saying what was wrong with hitting monsters. After this, she would also report this matter to the magic tower. She would absolutely not let monsters set foot in the capital. She wasn't afraid. She was just worried if the children had turned into monsters. And the two of them were fine. She asked them if they were okay. They said they were fine and happily said they had learned a new move. And the wardrobe was broken. Eileen said it was too stuffy inside. So she gave it a push and it became like this. The heroine was very happy they were okay and didn't understand why Maria treated them this way. Maria was detained at the side, shouting that they were monsters. The heroine, without turning her head, instructed the maid to let her go. She was going out with the children. Watching the children play happily outside, the heroine fell into deep thought. She didn't know what to do about Mrs. Maria. If only Pable were here. At this moment, the children were happily laughing, holding a dog. It was Pable. He came to find the heroine, wanting to continue with that proposal. Even without a pass now, he was unwilling to give up that opportunity. And the heroine was just worrying about not having a teacher, complaining about Mrs. Maria. He had come at the perfect time. Pable said he was a controversial person. He had no real power and had offended Countess Duval. And the Countess's eldest son still had a limp in one leg to this day. So no one in the capital hired him. He heard that Countess Duval was looking for an opportunity to punish Maria. This might be a good opportunity. The heroine was a little surprised. He had been in the monastery for so long, yet he knew so much about the empire's affairs. She was very grateful for his proposal. What she was most worried about was still the children, how to control their magical power. She had no knowledge in this area at all. He said that in families with powerful magic passed down through generations, there were usually elders to teach the children how to control their magic. He felt it was a bit strange. The ducal family shouldn't be unaware of this. Perhaps they had only recently started using magic. The heroine felt a little guilty and agreed with his point of view. If Pabel was to be the teacher, he wanted to use the greenhouse as a classroom. The heroine let him use it for now and would seek the Duke's permission later. And the nonsensical things he said before had put her in a strange mood. A few days later, the butler reported to the Duke about the recent events concerning the Duchess. He also asked him to teach the children magic when he had time. The Duke heard this and asked the butler irritably, "Will my brother and sister-in-law like this too?" Discussing things through the butler and maids. The butler truthfully said that the two of them had a very good relationship. There was no room for them to intervene. The Duke didn't understand why she didn't come to him. The butler said that he and the Duchess rarely met, which seemed natural to him. He was very angry when he heard this and was going to find the heroine now. The butler smiled, thinking that since the Duchess arrived, it seemed like spring had come to the ducal mansion. Although he said he was going to find Sialina, he hadn't thought about what to say yet. As he was hesitating, a bright light flashed from the house in front of him. Sialina seemed to be in great pain. He quickly ran over and opened the door, and then felt a sudden sharp pain in his chest. The door in front of him opened, and a woman came out. Belkin, this was the annex where the children used to live. She needed a room where she could hide from others' sight, so she converted this place into a study. This was her secret weapon to understand this world. She never thought that she, who had been playing games all through high school, could study so hard. Recently, the topic she was researching was the mysterious powers that exist in this world. The world originally had two kinds of power, magic and divine power. But at some point, monsters appeared. The aura of magical beasts began to spread throughout the world. The so-called magic is a power passed down through generations. Each user has a different color, and divine power is pure white and can perform various functions. Divine power not only has functions like purification, healing, and strengthening, but also charm. Charm is the most absolute omnipotence used by gods to make humans submit. She could roughly understand why everyone let down their guard around her. It was probably because of the divine power, whether it was the knight captain, the butler, or the maids. And Killian too. She didn't need to be sad. Her mission was to lift the children's curse before her brother arrived. Just as she began to try to use her power, it seemed she was about to succeed, although it quickly dispersed. At this moment, the butler's voice calling her name came from outside. As soon as she opened the door, the butler looked at her with a frightened expression. He even asked if it was her. The butler said he had something to say to her. The heroine was going back to the main mansion. The two of them planned to go back together. He didn't understand who the woman who overlapped with the heroine was, and what was this thing that fell at his feet. At this time, the heroine had also finished packing. The two of them walked together in silence. The Duke broke the silence, saying what a fine day it was. He remembered she had said she liked the ducal mansion in the snowfields. The heroine was a little surprised. Turning his head, he said again, "It seems you've also become a person of the North." This made the heroine's heart flutter. He took the heroine's hand and said he would teach the children to control their magic this afternoon, and he wanted the heroine to be there. At this moment, the children ran over. They had already finished their class. The children were still a little scared when they looked at the Duke. The Duke knelt down directly and kindly asked them how their class was. Listening to the interesting things that happened in the children's class, the Duke picked them up and said he would teach them what teacher Pabel couldn't. He heard that Eileen broke the wardrobe yesterday. The Duke said that being strong is a good thing, so you can protect the people you want to protect. As they said this, they all looked at the heroine. If they wanted to learn, they had to change into warmer clothes and come out again. The heroine also accepted his proposal. It would be nice for the four of them to spend time together. One day, she would leave this place, but she hoped this daily routine wouldn't disappear too quickly. And what she didn't know was that there was a person behind her, calling her a traitor. This place is really beautiful. This snowfield was once a meadow. It was hard for the Duke to believe. It was the children's first time in such a large grassland. Eileen even wanted to move here directly. He said that originally, the first time children controlled their magic, it should display their parents' characteristics. But he couldn't see it, so he found a magic crystal, and that magic crystal could let him see the children's magic color. In the atmosphere, the heroine said she also wanted to see his magic color. After reacting, she couldn't believe she could say such a thing. He approached the heroine and said she could look at his eye color. That was his magic color. The The heroine felt it was too close and couldn't help but blush. He couldn't help but tease her. It seemed she was expecting something else. After a while, the heroine was sitting and resting in the distance, thinking to herself that she couldn't get too close to them. After all, she was an outsider. She prayed from a distance, hoping that today's training would go smoothly. Before the training began, the Duke first explained that his magic was not to harm them. He told them not to be afraid. The children believed him because the heroine had said he was a good person. The Duke was a little moved and said, "Then let's begin." He said that magic can be used for protection and also for attack. As he spoke, a flame of magic ignited in his hand. He said it wasn't difficult, it was just about controlling the strength. Yeelish quickly did it, but Eileen didn't know how. Soon, she also got the hang of it, but the color was rainbow. The attack expression was not good. The color represented that her magic was very unstable and easy to lose control of. Sure enough, the magic quickly turned black. Eileen lost control. The Duke protected Yeelish, then hugged Eileen and said, "It's okay." The heroine saw this and walked over, then used her divine power. The two of them were fine soon. This was the light he saw when he was looking for the heroine, and she fainted directly on the ground. Seeing the heroine faint, the Duke was very panicked. The heroine was sent back to the mansion. Eileen was filled with self-blame and couldn't help but cry softly. If it weren't for her, the heroine wouldn't have fainted. Yeelish suggested they continue practicing and help each other when they were about to turn into monsters. Eileen was a little worried when she heard this. Killian had told him to watch over the heroine. Yeelish heard this and said he was going out for a bit and would be right back. He came to the greenhouse and found no one there. He thought, great, and there happened to be a plant he could experiment on. Killian must not have expected that he could already use his power to condense a clock. But before, he could only lift it with Eileen. But he felt he could lift it now. And he only needed to do this, and the seedling would grow. But soon he realized something was wrong. His body felt like it was being wrapped by a python, and he couldn't move. He shouted, "Sialina and Uncle, save me." Here, the heroine felt something was wrong and suddenly woke up. She had seen the goddess in her dream, but besides a sense of unease about a seedling, she couldn't remember anything. She felt a sense of relief. As long as she woke up, it would be fine. Even the attending physician didn't know what was wrong with her. Eileen, full of guilt, apologized to the heroine. Seeing that Yeelish was not there, Eileen quietly told her that Yeelish had gone to practice magic. She remembered what the goddess had said to her. The children were going to die. He had not kept his promise. The heroine had to find Yeelish now. He told her to rest assured. He would go find him now. He told the heroine to rest well. Yeelish was about to be strangled. The hound came out and bit the snake directly. He saved Yeelish's life. His uncle's call came from a distance. He ran away warily. Yeelish's chest suddenly felt like it was on fire. He felt him walk over. Yeelish trembled and said he had just fallen off the bench and was fine. In the distance, Pabel heard the voices of the Duke and Yeelish. He had come out to see because Anastasia had run off. He wanted to pet the dog. His bracelet suddenly broke. This was a divine artifact that only reacted when it encountered a monster. It actually broke directly. It seemed the curse on the ducal family was real. Pabel was teaching the children. Yeelish's heart suddenly started to hurt. He asked the teacher the reason for the heart pain. Pabel, touching the glowing bracelet, said it might be a wound and needed to be checked carefully, otherwise it could get infected. Hearing this, he wanted to show his uncle, so he wrote a small note to Eileen, saying he was going to find his uncle and to keep it a secret for him. Then he tiptoed away. Recently, Yeelish had been hiding things from her. Eileen felt excluded and was very upset, so she started crying, which startled Pabel. Hearing Eileen's troubles, Pabel told her not to worry. He also had a younger sister. She was as upright and kind as him, but unfortunately, he didn't know where she was. But he believed he would see her soon. Eileen heard this and said, "I'm sure you will." When she and Yeelish were separated, they could find each other. Pabel gave her a gift. It was a magic crystal with a protective effect. If it accidentally broke, she should tell him, and he would replace it with a new one. Eileen happily said she would take good care of it. Yeelish arrived at the Duke's office. He was scared of the Duke's approach. When the Duke touched his body, he flinched. The Duke suspected he was injured. He was shocked after unbuttoning his clothes. Yalexi cried and said he had summoned a demon. Previously, the Duke had written to Lady Pontine, wanting to borrow a book from her that recorded ancient magic. The Duke asked him when it appeared. He recalled everything that happened in the greenhouse. When that black mist attacked him, thankfully, Anastasi devoured it. Then his left chest hurt badly, and this pattern appeared. He was filled with helplessness. The Duke comforted him, saying it was okay and that he would find a way. On Ulexi's left chest, the symbol of ancient magic had appeared. A series of questions swirled in his mind. Has Eileen's curse been lifted? And how did Silenus sense the danger? If only he could have a proper talk with her. He suddenly remembered that woman's name was Belkin. While the maids were discussing what the young lady liked to eat, the heroine had already quietly gotten up. Carrying a lamp, she walked out. How had she not thought of it? Belkin was the first duke of the family. A voice softly calling Belkin reached his ears. The Duke turned, about to draw his sword, and asked who was there. Suddenly, he froze. It was the heroine, and his body was paralyzed. She caressed his face, speaking of her longing for him. The Duke told the heroine to pull herself together. The person before him suddenly turned dark, saying, "Didn't you say you would never betray me?" At the Duke's loud shout, the heroine finally woke up in his arms. The Duke questioned her, asking who she really was. The heroine was about to explain, but a sinister voice said from behind her, "For one who makes a pact with a god, breaking the terms comes at the cost of their life." The Duke roughly understood. The reason she could use her powers was by borrowing the ability of the one possessing her. He didn't want to lose her. The heroine looked terrified, begging him to stop talking. Seeing him continue to talk, the heroine kissed him directly to shut his mouth. She said, "Stop talking. I don't want to lose them either, or lose my own life. So please, don't say any more." After the Duke reluctantly agreed, thankfully, she didn't sleepwalk anymore. But the Duke had already grown suspicious of her. In truth, she might disappear one day. Lily took out the magic crystal she wanted. It was said to be very precious. This item could be filled with divine power. If she were gone, this could still protect the children. The heroine opened the door, found the children, and said she had something for them. They were beautiful ribbons. Aileen walked over happily. Ulexi was hesitant. When she tried to give one to Ulexi, he refused and ran away. Aileen also said he's been acting strange lately, always secretly going to see their uncle and not letting her follow. The heroine was a little worried after hearing this. It seemed she needed to have a talk with the Duke. The heroine walked over. She heard the Snowfield guards had been attacked again. This was the fourth time. The Duke was going to check on it himself. The heroine approached, wanting to talk to the Duke alone about why Ulexi was always avoiding her. The Duke took her hand and told her not to worry. He didn't want to hide anything, but it wasn't the right time yet. Watching the Duke's departing figure, the heroine chose to trust him. Just then, Mary ran over. A letter from Lady Pontine had arrived, saying she would be at the duchy soon. The heroine felt something was off. She wasn't someone who would visit the duchy for no reason. But since she was coming, she had to be welcomed. The heroine brought the two children to greet her. The children greeted the lady politely. She was delighted to hear them. She whispered to the heroine, mentioning news related to Lady Gillard. Why bring her up so suddenly? The lady suggested they talk inside. This is the book the Duke requested. Since he was out, the heroine accepted it on his behalf. Ulexi felt something was wrong. After sending the children away, she planned to talk with the lady alone. Meanwhile, Ulexi secretly followed the butler inside and found the book the Duke wanted. Just as he was about to read it, Aileen found him. She asked him what on earth he was doing. Ulexi hid the book. Aileen said with puffed cheeks that he was isolating her. If he didn't tell her, she would tell their teacher. Ulexi had no choice but to make Aileen promise to keep it a secret. He showed her the totem, saying it was an ancient symbol. An ancient symbol is a power displayed by very few people. Different people have different symbols. And on his shoulder was the symbol of a dragon. He heard that placing a hand on the symbol and concentrating could awaken it. Aileen urged Ulexi to try it quickly. Ulexi gave it a try and found it really worked. They heard a voice say, "The one chosen by the dragon has dispelled the evil aura, allowing me to awaken. But the other one is not ready." Aileen said she was ready. Suddenly, she felt a sharp pain in her heart. A snake appeared before her. The voice said, "Only by dispelling the evil aura with your power will you prove you are my master." Suddenly, the pain subsided. The brooch the heroine had given her was working, and her power coalesced into a hammer. Ulexi told her to grab it and that he would help too. Aileen said, "Okay." Then she picked up the hammer and smashed it on the monster's head. They did it. They hugged each other happily, and before their eyes, a dragon appeared. He said, "Guardian of the mortal flame of the north, Tigran greets his masters. He will serve them until death." The reason they could awaken him is that they possess half of Claudia's soul, and his name cannot be known by anyone other than his masters. Aileen decided to call him Long Long. He spoke of Claudia, who was their mother. Originally, she was to be his master, but their birth changed their fates. A knock came from the door, asking if they were all right. Alexei said he would bring the heroine. He could now use his powers skillfully. In an instant, he transformed into an adult, looking exactly like his uncle. Borrowing his uncle's clothes, he told Aileen to wait obediently. The carriage moved forward slowly. Lady Pontine said the territory has been very unusual lately. Lady Lode still holds a grudge against her. The heroine sent a letter to Lady Duval. In the end, Lady Lode received 30 lashes and was exiled. And now, they were going to see Lady Lode. Although handing her over to him was the right thing to do, she also had a way to deal with her quietly. The heroine said, "This matter started with me, so will end with me." She often had food and daily necessities sent to the shelter, but the environment was still chaotic. Lady Pontine covered her face, saying that people from the duchy get kidnapped by the poor and offered to demons. Someone Lady Pontine knew walked over. They had found someone matching the physical description. She had taken a meal supplement, so she would appear at dinner time. Just then, a child was caught in the distance. An adult was shouting, "Thief." The heroine took off her hood and shouted, "Stop." In an instant, all the unfriendly gazes turned towards her. They were thinking of capturing the heroine for the demons. But the heroine simply handed over 2 loaves of bread and told him to take them to his mother. The heroine continued to give food to others. Soon, it was almost dark. Lady Lode still hadn't appeared. She was probably hiding from her. Lady Pontine was called away for a moment. She felt that volunteering here wasn't so bad. The little boy from earlier ran over, begging the heroine to save his mother. His mother had fainted from hunger. The heroine took some food and told the guard she would be right back. He led the heroine to a house, saying his mother was inside. As soon as the heroine knocked, he backed away. The door suddenly shattered, shocking the heroine. Reflected in her eyes was a demonic claw reaching for her. It was Lady Lode. She had turned into a demon, and she held a deep grudge against the heroine. It was because of her that she was kicked out of her family and lived so miserably. Then one day, that person gave her a chance for revenge. She was about to crush the heroine. The heroine tried to use her power, but was interrupted. The heroine thought, "I can't die like this. I still have the children and the Duke." Just then, a ray of light shone from the distance. She was saved. She vaguely saw the Duke. He said he was Alexei. Seeing the heroine so injured, Alexei was furious. "How dare you treat Sialina like this?" Then he immediately used his magic. She was finally dead. The heroine, enduring immense pain, told him to leave quickly before others arrived. Alexei was filled with worry. She told him he must come back. Outside the door, Lady Pontine arrived. She helped up the injured heroine, shocked by the corpse in front of them. The heroine said, "Let's leave first." In the office, Aileen refused to tell her uncle what had happened. Alexei arrived late, only to see his uncle already waiting there. The two of them told him together, "The demons inside our bodies have disappeared." The Duke was shocked. "Is that true?" Aileen said yes. Thanks to Sialina's help, she could now use her magic properly and became the master of the dragon. Alexei said he saw she was in danger when he went out. Thankfully, he dealt with the demon, but she was injured upon her return. Just then, news came from outside that the lady had returned. The Duke rushed over, very worried about the heroine's safety. Only after seeing her and holding her in his arms did he feel relieved. The Duke said, "I won't let you bear all this alone anymore. I love you, Sialina." And then he kissed her. Despite such severe injuries, she recovered within a day. This astonished Pable, and he had finished his investigation. It was that sponsor. He thought to himself, does he really not know? Just then, the Duke pushed the door open and entered. Pable left. He asked how the heroine's body was. According to ancient records, dragons are very powerful, possessing strength equal to that of gods. Becoming the master of a dragon has a special meaning. If they wished, they would have the power to destroy the empire. The emperor might, in the name of peace, keep the children in the capital. And that curse has been lifted. He could hardly believe it. This was all thanks to her. The curse is lifted. The divine power is almost gone. And the statue of the goddess has changed. Pable, waiting in the office, sensed the Duke entering with a knife. He already knew everything, but the Duke had misunderstood him. Anastasi was an ordinary dog raised by his sister. But after eating the medicine he made, it could detect and purify the demon disease. The bracelet is the same. It reacts to the aura of demons. He knelt and said, "No matter what, please wait until I find my sister to punish me, because the person I was studying who turned into a demon was my sister, my only relative." Before he was imprisoned, he hid his sister, who was in a semi-demonic state, and took care of her. But after he was released, his sister disappeared from that place. Then he was exiled. The sponsor must have taken his sister, and all records of his funding were destroyed. Baroness Lode had traces of a magic formula on her, which is why she was turned into that. The Duke didn't believe he didn't know who his sponsor was and pressed him. He had no choice but to get on the same boat as the Duke and reveal who that person was. He's Grand Duke Yuri Jayev.